Hello and welcome friends. Today we are continuing our discussion on solving the quadratic equation using the factorization method. Up till now you would recall that we have discussion. In fact, I talked about the process which you will adopt to solve the factorization method. Now let us experiment with two examples. Let us take two equations and let us try and use the same method to find the roots of these equations. I told you finding the roots means finding the values of x, and in a quadratic equation there would be two values of x which will be satisfying this equation. So there is basically this equation which has been given to us: x square plus 13x plus 42 is equal to 0. Now the first step, if you would recall, was that you have to multiply this term with an x square in it to the term which does not have any x in it. So you basically multiply the two. The answer that you get is 42x square. Now what you have to do is, step 2, the coefficient of this term that you obtain in step 1, the coefficient here is 42. You have to find out the factors. So you find out the factors: 2 into 3 into 7, 7 3s are 21, 21 2s are 42. So you have to basically find out the factor, just as you have been doing in the case of LCM and HCF. Now I told you yesterday, because at times 1 may come in handy, so you also have to multiply it with 1. So you have to keep this in your mind, that you also use 1 because 1 may come in handy. So 1 can be a factor of any number. So you can simply put in a 1 here. So 1 into 2 into 3 into 7 is 42. Now the third step is that you have to split this middle term, and this is positive plus 3x, in such a manner. You have to break down this middle term plus 13x in such a manner that the two splits that you obtain, their product is equal to this 42x square plus 42x square. So now let us try and do that. For that we have got some options. We'll try out every single option. So this is the first option that we have. Now what we have done is, we have split the middle number. No, there seems to be some mistake here. No, this is perfectly fine. So what we have done is, we have used this step 2, and in this step 2 what I have done is, I have included these two as one number and these two as one number. So I get 2 and 21. So 2x into 21x. 2x and 21x. So basically this is what we have got. So why are we doing this? The sum of 2x and 21x is 23x. However, what we want is 13x. So this is how you have to proceed. So you can start from the product that you have obtained here. Start from the coefficient of 42x square which you have obtained here, and now you have broken it like this. You have taken two factors at a time, 1 and 2. This gives us 2x, and then 3 and 7 which gave us 21x. So, or 21. Now 2x into 21x will be 42x square. That is perfectly fine. That is what we want. But the sum is 23x. The sum should have been 13x, because after all we are splitting this 13x into two portions. So that is not a perfect solution. That is not an acceptable solution. So now what we do is, this time what I have done, I have taken up 1 and I have taken up 3, and then 1 into 3 is 3, and then we have got 2 and 7, that becomes 14. But the sum is 17x. Again, I want a sum which is equal to 13x, though the product is perfectly fine. 14 into 3, 42x square. But since the sum is 17x, the sum should have been 13x, because I have to split 13x. So this option is not acceptable. Then we've got another option. What I do is, I multiplied 1 with this 7 and 3 with this 2. So I get 7 and I get 6. 1 into 7, and 2 into 3. So I've got 7 and 6. Now the sum is also 13x. That is perfectly fine. This is what wanted. And the product has got to be 42x square, because after all we are using the factors of 42 only. So the sum is perfectly fine, and the product is also of course fine. So now this is how I have to break down the middle term. I will break it down into 6x and 7x. and this product would also be equal to 42x square that we have seen. How do we know that it has to be 42x square? Because after all we are taking the factors of 42 only. So we have taken it in this particular fraction 1 into 7 and 2 into 3. So we are taking the factors of 42 only. So naturally the product has to be 42x square. Right. So now this is how we are going to proceed. Now we have to split basically 13x into 7x plus 6x. So now x square plus 13x plus 42 becomes x square plus 7x plus 6x plus 42. We have not made any changes to the original equation. The original equation is exactly like it was. However, we have split the middle term 7x plus 16x instead of writing 13x, and that is perfectly fine. We have not made any changes anywhere. Now the next step, you already know now, you have to take up the first two terms and then you put them in a bracket, and the second two terms again put them in a bracket, and then in the next step you have to basically take out the common elements. So x was common in both the two terms, so we have taken out x, and what is remaining inside is now x, and what in this case is remaining inside is now 7. And I've told you, if you are not very sure whether you have done it correctly, you can take the opposite route, multiply. Now x into x is x square and x into 7 is 7x, so that is perfectly fine. Likewise you will do for this pair also. You will take out what can be taken out. Here I cannot take out x because 42 does not have x. I can take out 6 however, and then what remains inside is x plus 7. Again, if you want to check, 6 into x is equal to 6x, 6 into 7 is equal to 42. So that is perfectly fine. And I told you an indicator that you are moving in the correct direction is that now these two equations that you get here, these two terms, they will be same, which will enable you. Now this is an indicator that you are moving in the correct directions. If you are not getting them to be same, if your calculations give you different results for the two terms, then probably you are making a mistake somewhere. So now since they are both same, what we'll do in the next step, we'll take this particular common term as, we'll bring it outside. So we'll take it as a common. So x plus 7 has been taken at common, and what remains inside is now x plus 6. So basically now we have got x plus 7 into x plus 6 is equal to 0. In the next step you have to find the value of x, and I told you if this has to be 0, at least one term should be equal to 0. So in the first instance we assume that x plus 7 is equal to 0, and from there we get this value x equal to minus 7, and in the second term we again assume that x plus 6 is equal to 0, so we get the value x equal to minus 6. Now I had also told you how to cross check this. So what you have to do to cross check this, let us take this particular example. X is equal to minus 7, so what you do, you put this value of x in this particular equation. We are starting with x equal to minus 6, so we can do that also. So here now we are starting with x equal to minus 6 and we are putting it in this equation. So putting x equal to minus 6 in x square plus 13x plus 42, if you calculate, you should be getting a 0, which means if you put the value of x is equal to minus 6 in this equation, you get a 0, which you should have got because this is what has been given here. If you get a 0 means if you put the value of x here as minus 6, this will satisfy the whole equation. The whole equation will be 0, which is actually the right hand side. So which means that x equal to minus 6 is a correct solution. Likewise you can test for x equal to minus 7, right? So now should I recapitulate it for you, whatever we have done? See, the first step was clear to you. It's a simple step. Simply multiply the first term, which is accompanied by x square, which is the x square term, with the term which does not have x. So you multiply it and you do keep a track of the sign also, right? So this becomes 42x square. Then what you have to do is you have to factorize the coefficient of the product here. So you are not factorizing 42x square, you are only factorizing 42, and this you are doing so that you can understand how to split the middle term. So from 42, what you do, you first took 1 and 2 as one pair and 3 into 7 as another pair, so that became 2 into 21. But however the sum was 23x, you wanted 13x, so you rejected this particular option. Then you went for 1 into 3 is equal to 3 and 2 into 7 is equal to 14. But again the sum is equal to 17x and you will have to reject. Then in the third case only you will be able to get the sum that you wanted, 7x and 6x. When you add them up, it will become 13x. So this now becomes an acceptable solution. This is how you proceed forward. Don't forget to verify your answers. You would not have the luxury of asking your friend in the exam hall as to what the correct answer is. What you have to do then is to verify your answers. So let's make it a habit to verify your answers, at least in rough, if not in fair. Now let us solve one more question, slightly different, using the factorization method, but I hope you'll be able to solve it on your own. So you don't wait for me to solve the question for you. You start solving the question on your own and see whether the method that you have adopted matches the method that I have used. So the first step is naturally again the x squared term multiplied with the term which does not have any x, so it becomes 48x squared. Now in the second term you have to factorize 48, the coefficient of the product here, and 1 into 2 into 2 into 2 into 2 into 3. 2 into 2 is 4, into 2 8, into 2 16, 16 3 48. So basically now you have done the factorization. Now in the third step what you have to do, you will pick up different pairs and see whether the sum comes out to be 14 or not. So in the first instance I have done what? I have included them in one pair, so 1 into 2 becomes 2x, and then this into a second pair, so 2 into 2 into 2 into 3 becomes 24x. However, their product has got to be 48x squared, because after all they have taken up from the factorization of 48 only, but their sum has got to be 14. Since the sum is 27x, we have to reject this particular option. We cannot factorize this particular equation in this particular manner. Then we have taken the slightly different option that we have. There are so many options that you can exercise here, but I would not be able to certainly cover all those options. But the point is that you should have practiced so much that you get an idea as to what would work, what all pairings would work. As for this particular second trial is concerned, we have done what? We have taken up this 1 into 2 into 2, this becomes 4, and then we have taken up 2 into 2 into 3, this becomes 12. So 4 into 12 however is 48x squared. That has bound to be 48x squared because after all it was the factor of 48 only. But then we have to look at the sum. The sum is 16x, so probably this is not going to work like that also. So we have to now look for some other option. So now we have gone for another option. What did we do? How did we come to this particular option? See, I have included 2 into 2 into 3. 2 is basically 8. So this time I have included 3 terms, and here I have included only 2. Initially I started only including first 2 terms, then I started including first 3 terms. 1 into 2 into 2 is equal to 4, and the remaining terms were taken as a different pair. Now I have taken the first 4 terms, it becomes 8x, and the remaining pair I have taken. The remaining pair also, the remaining terms I have taken as a pair, so 2 into 3 becomes 6x. Now the advantage here of this particular option is that now we have got what we wanted. 8x plus 16x is equal to 14x, which means, and we have checked, we know that the product has got to be 48x square. You can always recheck it, there's no problem with that. So yes, we can go ahead with that. This is how we have got to factorize the equation, and this is how we have got to split the middle term. So this is what we are going to do here. We will split the term like this. So 14x becomes 8x plus 6x plus 48, and now using the same methodology we have taken up the first 2 terms, the second 2 terms of the first pair and the second pair, and then we have taken out x from the first, and then we have taken out 6 from the second, and this gives us x plus 8 into x plus 6 equal to 0, which gives us the value of x is equal to minus 6 and minus 8. And now what the task for you is to verify these values on your own by putting these values in the original equation. The answer should come out to be 0, right? So the answer should be equal to 0. That means that your calculation was absolutely fine. So I've done this verification for you, but you should also do this, attempt this in your notebook. So when you put x is equal to minus 6, you will get 0, and when you put x equal to minus 8, again you will get 0, which means my solutions were correct. These are the 2 roots of this particular equation, x equal to minus 6 and x equal to minus 8, and if these values are replaced for x in the particular equation, it will satisfy the equation, which means it will give 0 as its result. So I hope you are able to understand, get a better understanding now. See, the point is that you already studied these concepts in your secondary and senior secondary classes. The advice to you therefore is to keep on practicing. The more you practice these kind of questions, the better would be your understanding, and you would be also able to do the question at a faster clip, right?